Sukuna from Jujutsu Kaisen is an on-site demon. He doesn't care in the slightest who wants to fight him. He just wants to see the world burn. Sukuna has to be the biggest menace in Jujutsu Kaisen by far. I mean, there's literally a fan-made process called the Sukuna cycle, which is when a new challenger appears in Jujutsu Kaisen. They then proceed to get all hyped up by doing something cool, which would eventually make the fans compare this character's abilities to the strongest character in Jujutsu Kaisen, which is debatably Sukuna. And in most of these cases, this character's abilities end up being overhyped, which leads to the character then fighting Sukuna and then dying, and then the cycle just continues. Along with Sukuna practically bullying the main character of Jujutsu Kaisen, Yuji, for most of, if not the entire series so far. I mean, after all, he did put 70% of the fanbase's favorite character, who was thought to be unbeatable, in a pack. And it all started with GOJO hitting Sukuna with a 200% output purple, and even from the start of this fight, Sukuna was talking crazy, saying you're nothing but a fish on top of my chopping board. A bit fresher than the others, but still nonetheless a nameless fish. Let's start off by peeling off your skills, and they immediately started boxing, up until GOJO had dropped onto his back and he had flicked Sukuna. Sukuna was like, oh shit. And he got sent through a whole wall, but they got right back at it. They were boxing through entire buildings, up until the entire building collapsed. There goes hundreds of people's jobs. And this man GOJO said, nah, I'ma blame this on you, but Sukuna was like, who are you to say anything? It's equally both of our faults. And the stakes were high for GOJO, cause everybody was watching, Yuji, Yuta, and even Chozo. But this was only the beginning of this fight. Both GOJO and Sukuna had expanded their domains, with Sukuna's domain reaching beyond the barrier of GOJO's domain, resulting in GOJO getting cut all over his body. But this man GOJO just said no, and he used simple domain. Then he pulled out the blicky and tried to hit Sukuna with a red, but this really didn't do anything to Sukuna. He didn't take any damage, and they just got right back to boxing. But Sukuna actually managed to destroy GOJO's domain from the outside, while GOJO had damaged Sukuna to the point to where he couldn't even maintain his domain. And this is when the jumping begins. Sukuna had summoned Mahoraga, and GOJO had tried to use domain expansion, but something was wrong. GOJO had overexerted himself, and even though Sukuna had only endured Infinite Void for less than 10 seconds, he was still being affected, and GOJO was trying to clown on Sukuna. And it was actually looking good for GOJO. He was winning the fight against Sukuna. That is, up until the real jumping began. The final wheel had spun, and Sukuna now made it a 3v1 against GOJO. This meant Sukuna does not want to fight fair, and they just started bombarding GOJO with their attacks. And they actually managed to cut GOJO's right arm off almost immediately after they started fighting, with GOJO then using Hollow Technique Purple, which destroyed like 15 more giant buildings while effectively taking away hundreds of people's homes. The homeless population in this area went up by at least 50%, but Sukuna was actually injured. Everybody watching thought GOJO actually wins this, but he didn't, and this was extremely disrespectful. GOJO was damn near off-screen by Sukuna, and GOJO was cut in half like a Kit Kat bar, with Sukuna showing Black Air Force energy can actually beat the light-skinned aura. And I cannot forget the time that Sukuna beat a court case like the true menace he is. And the court case was basically this guy named Higuruma's domain, in which there's no violence allowed, and anyone who tries to commit violence will be returned to their podium. They were trying to hit my boy Sukuna with a death sentence because of the Shibuya incident, which is actually understandable, I can't even lie, in which Sukuna undoubtedly killed thousands of people and wiped out 90% of the normal people in Shibuya. And when this guy was actually proving how Sukuna was in control of Yuji's body when committing the Shibuya incident to the judge, Sukuna was asked about his defense, but this man Sukuna said, "You're taking so long. I'm not interested in where or what I did. End it already." So Sukuna was found guilty and given the death penalty, which should obviously result in Sukuna dying, right? But I guess this meant Sukuna was on some take timing, and he broke out of the domain and got right back to bullying these Jujutsu Kaisen characters. And he actually killed Higuruma right in front of Itadori. And when it comes to running phase, there are no exceptions or breaks for Sukuna, with Sukuna even fighting Yuta. And it all started with Yuta putting Sukuna on a cross like he was about to be sacrificed. And this did actually eventually result in Sukuna being cut by Yuta. But now Itadori pulled up, so Sukuna is actually getting a taste of his own medicine. He's getting jumped now. And just like that, the jumping had begun, with Yuta and Yuji restraining Sukuna's arms, so Rika could come out of nowhere and hit Sukuna, but it didn't work because Sukuna is just him. And it ends up Sukuna actually did more damage to Yuta and Yuji than they did to him. And Sukuna even started violating them, asking them what they were doing for the past couple months. Both Yuji and Yuta hit Sukuna with a good attack, but Sukuna slapped Yuji in his stomach, leaving him bleeding on the ground. Yuta had tried to hit Sukuna with an attack called Jacob's Ladder at a maximum output, but it didn't go very well at all, and Sukuna had just hit Yuta instead of taking damage. Maki then tried to sneak Sukuna, but Sukuna was prepared by a long shot, with Sukuna saying that he hasn't even broken a sweat so far. And while fighting Yuji, Rika, and Yuta at the same exact time, he has not needed to even go close to trying his hardest. And Kusakabe planned on sneak attacking Sukuna from above, and he instantly got packed up, with Sukuna throwing him through a wall. And Maki also tried to hit Sukuna while his guard was down, but Sukuna had black flashed her, so now she was just cooked. And now it was just Kusakabe versus Sukuna, one-on-one. And it was very one-sided, with Sukuna actually laughing at Kusakabe while defending his attacks, and Kusakabe was dead. Just like that. This man's death was so simple. And also, there's a subject that I don't really see talked about a lot, and the subject I'm talking about is this man Sukuna actually getting play. This man literally has females fighting over who can be by his side, as well as a woman that was fighting Sukuna that was literally trying to show him what love was, saying, "I'm only just getting started teaching you about love. I understand the loneliness that comes with unrivaled strength, so I will be the one who will teach you about love." And Sukuna just straight up laughed at this, which sent her on a whole tangent when she realized he had already experienced love in his life. And this shouldn't even be surprising, he's been alive for thousands of years. And then she was even in denial, saying, "I already know about love? There's no way, that is not love. You must have been mistaken. I'll show you what real love looks like." And Sukuna had eventually killed her, but even before she died, she said, "Wow, I didn't realize you knew me so well." This man Sukuna gets hella females without even trying, or really wanting to be honest. He has shown zero interest, but I guess Sukuna just has that nonchalant, toxic wrist. And at this point, the entire manga is pretty much just based around Sukuna, with almost every character planning on fighting him. And it's not looking like it's gonna slow down anytime soon. The action is just constant, and the Mappa animators are gonna have a terrible time when they have to animate all of this. But this man Sukuna is just a straight up menace in general that radiates Black Air Force energy, and he's honestly grown to become one of my favorite characters from Jujutsu Kaisen. And if you made it this far in today's video, let me know in the comment section below, who's your favorite character from Jujutsu Kaisen? And also, if you enjoyed today's video and would like to support me, then you can leave a like and subscribe. It's completely free on your end and helps me out way more than you may think. And if you would like to interact with me, my community, drop some memes, talk in general, or maybe even just self-promote, then you can join the Discord that can be found in the description box below. But that's gonna be all for today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.